Good morning, everyone. I'm here with Mr. Anand S, and Sir is currently the Vice President in Sullivan and is currently heading the Global Innovation Center in India. Can you tell us about something about your journey, how you got here?
To this particular position?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me just tell you how I normally say. I started my career when I was a baby in Frost & Sullivan. So this is the last of my teens in this company, 19 years. So I've actually worn multiple hats. So I started off as an aspiring analyst, many of us here aspire to become. So I was in charge of taking care of the electronics industry as well as a few other industries. That said, I used to write a lot of technology pieces related to sensors, related to microelectronics, and I guess a lot of those write-ups have inspired a lot of movies that are being made both in Collywood as well as in Hollywood, because I see a lot of themes that I've written in 2002, 3 and 4 becoming chartbusters in terms of movies in 2010 and 13. One specific movie is Robot, where a lot of ideas that I had in the past actually are featured in it. So that said, I also, as a result of my extensive experience as well as working with a lot of corporates around the world, I'm engaged in a lot of strategy-related projects, basically identifying growth opportunities, and that's what I would wish all of you to also go about doing, because it's those growth opportunities that actually help assist the economy as well as people in general. And I've successfully, of course, transformed the team of about 30 to about 650 that we have at the moment, and growing. So I wish that I continue to continue this learnings that I have. And being in Frost & Sullivan actually helps us to look up at varied industries. We're not specifically restricted to a few. As a result, the learning never stops, and we begin to get empowered with a lot of other functions. And that has resulted me to be in this particular position of what I am in 19 years.
Correct. So, going forward, how do you think business analytics is going to impact workplaces into the future?
Absolutely. It's a very important question, and thank you for bringing it up. See, we are living in a world of constant disruptions that are happening.
Yes, sir.
As a result, what are we seeing? We are seeing a collapse of a lot of industries. Also, what we are seeing is the transformation of businesses into newer products and services. Basically, we are seeing the Uberization of business now. And the whole thing is enabled by the digital platform.
Yes, sir.
So it's very important that we get to understand what is happening in the realm of digitization. And trends related to the surge of data that digitization is enabling all of us to have access to. With this, what is it that we are going to do is find a method to all the madness that we are seeing around us. Right? I'll give you one example. Maybe you guys should come out with an idea related to this particular example.
Yes, sir.
One of the companies that I closely consult with, it's a major Japanese organization. So they are the major players in the POS terminal, the point of sale terminals, right? You see a lot of those terminals. They are also a leading supplier of the ATM machines from which we go and draw our cash,
Yes,
right? So they are saying that they have the data of preferences of people that actually access all of those POS or leverage that POS. So they say they have that zillions of data that's available. The question to us and to all of you is how to monetize it.
Yeah.
right?
You have the data, how to go about it.
How to monetize that particular data, right? So obviously that kind of spurs a lot of thought in the minds of all of us, right? What do we do next? So one of the suggestions was to figure out if the POS terminal is in a mall,
Yes, sir.
they kind of look up at patterns of the person accessing the mall. And today all of us are happy to share the details of our mobile phone or the social media names that carry us. So with that particular pattern, immediately AI-based tools are able to kind of leverage information of the preference of the individual and able to promote using augmented reality or virtual reality perhaps to take your attention to the areas of your interest within the vicinity of about 500 meters in that particular space and take you to that shop. Assuming that you're a lover of reading business books, then it will kind of show you where that facility is available and what is it that you can do to transact if there is a discount available related to a particular book. So you can use the data that you're gathering without actually getting into any contacts with you, asking you to fill up a form or other things, completely virtually. So data analytics for the common man is getting into that particular space. But data analytics is not restricted to only this. There are material companies around the world that have been in the business for more than 400 to 500 years. They are leveraging to study the type of patterns that materials can exhibit by using analytics. For example, there are a lot of companies today that are able to engineer plastics that is able to be as reliable as steel, right? And all of this wouldn't have been possible without analytics, because they're able to determine the properties of steel. They're able to actually use that particular platform to see if they can engineer plastics to have the same properties, right? And eventually, if this is being applied, for example, in the oil and gas infrastructure, that thousands of miles go in steel tubes, and the capex of companies investing in that is pretty high. And the second one is that the replacement cost in terms of corrosion that it faces is also very high. So if we are able to get this particular alternate, it saves them on both. And which one facilitates it? It's the analytics, which kind of determines that you can engineer a product, which might have taken 10 years if you're doing it in a lab. But this reduces the time to 2 or 3 years. So that is a potential application of where data can be leveraged and analytics can be applied.
So you told us about the use of data analytics in the industry. So coming to your own company, Sullivan, how is the company taking forward the business analytics approach in its operations?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So within Frost & Sullivan, we do have a group that is mainly digitizing a lot of content that we have. It's called the Interactive Frost, or iFrost.
Okay.
So basically what we do is a set of market intelligence requires us 3 important components. One is what's driving the market.
Great.
The second one is what are the challenges the market is witnessing. And the third one is a restraint. So as analysts, we pick up the leading drivers that drive. A challenge is something that manifests into a driver or a restraint, all right? So we identify if there is a solution to it. But what is a restraint? A restraint is something that we have no control about. Tomorrow, if the government decides ban on single-use plastics, then it's a restraint. And any player in that particular space will not work. So we have made a system within Frost & Sullivan to completely digitize the information that we get and forecast what exactly would be the shipment related to different goods, products, and services using the iFrost platform. So if we are not in this particular field, we will be out of business.
Yes.
So we've invested heavily in it, and we're working with a lot of partners also
Okay, sir.
in this particular space. So all of that is actually enabling us to put the digital face in front of our clients.
So, a person of the stature has been through many challenges in his life. So, can you share with us, like, if when he faces a challenge, how do you go about it? How should a young student or a young professional should go about the challenges that he faces?
Yes, as we grow up, we get to face a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Obviously, we don't live only in the world where we have only challenges, but we also have a lot of opportunities. I can pick up the domain of consulting. See, when clients come to us,
Yes, sir.
basically, they have a challenge. We have a challenge on how to execute their challenge. All right. So there are a set of processes that we have in place, very similar to what all of you study in business schools.
Yes, sir.
So we put together that problem on our table. We figure out what is the approach that we will have to take towards that. And we also look up at opportunities related to what if that particular idea that we are taking is actually failing.
Okay, sir.
And what is it that we have to do to address it in terms of what we commonly call as a course correction. Right? Halfway through a project, when we look up at the outcomes related to it, we will get to know if we are on the right track or not. And then we decide if we have to make a decision where we have to invest a little more time to set it right, we go about doing it, because at the end of the day, you don't want to reach a situation in 2 or 3 months' time that you have not been able to address because your inputs have been wrong.
Yes.
So at every point of time, I would recommend that you do a sanity check related to what your situation is and address it at that point of time, and that is going to facilitate you as a student community to kind of come out with better outcomes and outputs.
So one last thing. So what is your viewpoint on these events which are being conducted by these students in their schools, and any word of advice to the students on the same?
Yeah.
These are entirely student-driven programs.
Very nice. Really, I congratulate you and the students of Great Lakes Institute that are actually initiating these events. These are all good forums to bring together panels and experts who have diverse experience related to different areas, and it gives the students what the thought leaders across the space in different vertical industries are actually offering, and a great learning experience for you to pick up a line or a thread that comes out of the experts and start investing your effort and focus in that particular space.
Yes, sir.
Today, what is very important for you to understand from a technology perspective, if you take, you might, a lot of you have got experience in the industry, some of you have got experience in the IT space, some of
Yes, sir.
them perhaps in the manufacturing space. So if you pick up one particular thread, 3D printing, right, it gives you a lot of opportunities.
Yes, sir.
So while talking to experts in this particular space, you will know exactly how you can uncover newer opportunities related to that particular space. What are the failures that it has already gone through, and the pitfalls that ensures that you learn from these failures and look up at the path that takes you to the destined end.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you, guys. This
Yeah.
is Mr. Anand S.
Thank you. My pleasure.